I'm Gustavo Steinberg. I'm the producer, co-director, and co-screenwriter of Tito and the Birds.
I'm Daniel Greco, executive producer of Tito and the Birds, and story editor too.
Yeah, I'm Bryan. You guys should know me from the podcast. Considering the fact that I also work in animation, so the stylistic approach you guys chose for the movie, what prompted that approach? Because it's like, I know it's mostly digital, like a CGI movie, but the oil painting approach for the backgrounds, like what inspired that? Because I think that's the thing that stands out the most.
Well, during the development of the film, we came across expressionism as a big reference. It's a film about fear. It's a bio, I have to say the word, from a fear disease. And then when we came across expressionism, we said, oh, of course, it's like, the best possible reference.
Like Van Gogh's The Scream.
Yeah.
And then from there, we started to think how we could use and develop techniques to use these aesthetics in the film so that it would tell the story better. It was not just like for the fun of it. It works for the story. So the animation is like was made on Toon Boom with cutout with a lot of space for the animators to draw a lot. So there is a lot of drawings there, not only traditional cutout. And then we had to develop the characters so that they would integrate in this very distorted and dense backgrounds. And ideally we thought, let's all do it all in oil, but it would have been impossible with the kind of budget and time, and it took us 8 years to make the film this way. It would have taken us like 16.
50, yeah.
Yeah, so what we did is that we planned it in such a way that it would emulate oil paint. Like we used Photoshop for the backgrounds, but we created our own library with oil paint strokes, and we imported that to use there. But we planned everything because we knew that in the compositing we would be able to add all the actual layers that we wanted to achieve the final result that we were aiming at. So as you said, like smoke, water, lights, there are lots of things that are really like they're oil paint.
Yeah, those are traditionally animated through oil.
Yeah. Stop motion, glass, painted on glass.
Painted glass, right?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So we would add all these layers so that people are like, oh, is it really?
Yeah.
So it makes really it's cool in a way, but it has a lot to do with the story, because we had to come up with strategies to bring fear into the film and not scare the audience so much that they would walk out of the movie theater, because it's a film that is aimed for 6 and above, right? So you don't want the audience crying, right?
Yeah, at the heart of it, it's still like a childhood adventure movie.
Yeah, it is. The story is very traditional. It's a traditional plot. The subject is maybe more serious than you normally see. It's I really wanted to make a film to talk about this culture of fear to kids, right? And then we thought that a good strategy was to make a fun adventure, but also having all these extra layers of this depth of the subject, which is something that is very connected to nowadays reality.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned how it's very much a traditional kind of story. It felt also like a Hollywood film, a Hollywood blockbuster, but it also has very anti-corporate, anti-consumer ideas where it's a false sense of security. And what does that mean, and what does that turn human beings into? And my question is what definite modern parallels were you attempting to draw with this film? What in our lives, our history, have we experienced where you could say we were thinking about these themes in real life put into this movie.
Well, I get it.
Every time that you've done TV,
Pay attention to the news, kids.
It's actually very funny because the villain was inspired by Donald Trump. And it's a mixture of Donald Trump and Berlusconi.
Yes.
And but we decided that before Trump was even a candidate.
Oh.
So
Fascinating.
it was fascinating. We were struck too when he became the president. We were like, "What does this mean?" It means it's not so complicated. It means that I think we were pointing in the right direction. We managed to catch this idea in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a very big city. I don't know if you know. It's São Paulo. It's like a massive.
São Paulo, yeah.
Have you been there?
I've not been there, but I've friends who've been there.
Yeah. So it's like this massive city, but everybody hides like behind walls, fences, barbed wire, electric wire, and
you say the same thing about this
well,
city as well.
Oh, you haven't.
Not like São Paulo.
No, you haven't been to
Paulo.
São Paulo. It's a whole different level, but it's starting here, and it is contagious. Because then people ask me, how did you think of the fear disease? Because it is contagious, because I see it in my life, right? And from that, we started like to build the whole plot, and the idea was from the start to talk about this and the influence of that and how it can be used in real life to create very, very bad things.
Right.
And I don't know if you've been following what's happening in Brazil right now.
Yes, you have
So-
your guys' version of Trump right now.
Yes.
Yes, but it's worse. So take Trump anytime over him.
Oh yeah, I've heard some awful stories. Basically.
It's awful. And people are just like willing to vote for this guy because of fear.
Because of fear, driven by fear.
And
Fear of economic crisis, fear of diversity, the changes in the world. Oh, we need a strong guy.
Yeah.
And because of that fear, they are acting so irrationally that it's really difficult to follow.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Trump, especially in this country, he is best representative of like all the worst natures of like human condition. He's just like greed, insecurity, like pride, and even like what I enjoy about your film that the villains and the characters are more nuanced and complicated, not just black and white. Like he had a son he cared for, he just didn't understand how what his son needed, and ultimately that they run into difficulties because of that too over the course of the adventure.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the hero. It's a traditional hero's journey, but the hero is not a hero.
Yeah,
he's just a kid, right? He has to make an effort.
Yeah, in fact,
and work a lot with his friends to be able to do something. It's not like I have special powers.
No, he's just a normal kid. Yeah, he's just kind of like on a goal that was initially a problem, but that problem ends up like causing a solution in the end.
So yeah, it's really about being able to have kids come out, not only kids, adults. I think there are many adults that need to watch the film too, maybe more so.
Yeah.
It's just that the kids, I think they are more open to understanding these things, and sometimes like we parents are super overprotective. Sometimes not because we are just overprotective, we just don't know how to talk to them about what is going on, all the scary things that are going on in the world. So what our work was to put, my cell phone is talking. Our biggest concern was like to create a structure so that you would be able you would enable parents and teachers and others to talk about these very serious and complicated things with kids, because they first deserve to know, second they need to know because they will soon be adults and they'll have to deal with that, right? So
we depend on them.
We're gonna have to. They're the next us. And hopefully they'll be better than us.
Much better, but much better, hopefully.
It's one of those things where it's like it's hard to tell people, even children, complex messages. And animation, I think, especially with like storytelling, is a good way to boil down the idea to like a very basic thing. Like fear is okay, fear is natural, but don't let fear control you, or else you'd be petrified. Another question I have, just to backtrack a little bit back onto the process of the film, is was it difficult managing this very trying to create like mixed medium and water? Sorry, I keep saying watercolor. Oil base animation and like compositing that on top of the Toon Boom harmony? Was that a challenge?
The
Because
compo-
the other thing, sorry, the other thing I know you guys have like live action backgrounds as well, not necessarily animation.
Yeah, have more than me.
Okay, you have the animation backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was composed on After Effects. It was not composed on Toon Boom.
Okay.
It was kind of tough, but we knew that we would have to search for something, you know? We have to search for something unique. We could not just do a replication of another aesthetic. We had the challenge of looking for our own. And being a 2D feature film, the tools are not that complex.
Yeah.
So they allowed us to experiment. So we from start we knew that we were looking for something different. So we planned the whole production so we will have room for experiment.
Okay.
We trusted a lot on our color script. We had Gabriel, who is also a co-director, but he's also the head of compositing. So he was from day one in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we did during development and pre-production, he was overseeing it.
Did you do a lot of tests to kind of
A lot of
figure
tests.
things out?
We did a lot of tests, and we worked a lot with trial and error
Okay.
during compositing. See, sometimes during compositing, he got overwhelmed by the possibility of doing graphical interventions or oil interventions, and he would just overshadow the narrative.
Yeah.
So we had
It
start
was at the beginning,
in the beginning.
especially
These
because
are
you had been waiting
back.
so long to like,
You had to go,
I'm going to show it all now.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything there. Like, okay, a little less.
So
So
take it
let's
off.
take a step
Yeah.
back
It's like I don't know if we can produce all that.
No, but not
He
only
actually produced it.
Yeah, he
Like,
actually produced
he
it.
painted everything. Like the first scene, it was like so over the top that we watched it and we're like, yeah,
But we felt that it was overshadowing the story.
the
Sure.
story. Yeah.
So we had to adjust it a little bit.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. So we really relied on our color script. So it guided us through the whole process. We left some room for experiment during compositing, and only on color grading that we achieved what we were looking for.
Okay, I have a question on that too. So the execution's brilliant, by the way. The were there anything, especially part of the narrative, that you couldn't get into the movie for various reasons, the time, or maybe it was too difficult to produce?
Any scenes?
Scenes or like ideas that just didn't make it into the movie?
No, I think
I
it's the
think-
contrary. We cut a part of the movie because it was excessive. I think we managed to boil it down to what we wanted to say. Of course, they're always.
Yeah.
But it's the sixth film I produce. It's not like my first film. I want to put all the ideas there.
Right.
No,
I
for
think-
example, the camera movements, the more complex camera movements. At the beginning of development, we thought that we would have much more scenes with that kind of movement. But then we said, no, but
It
again,
has to be
it
precise.
has to be precise. What is the dramatic function of this movement? Is it working for the story, or is just
Or distracting.
distracting it? See, so actually, believe we did less than we could because we had to tell a story.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
obeyed the
the film.
story. Yeah. So in terms of ideas, I think, at least, I think that I managed to put all the ideas that I really wanted to talk about there,
Yeah.
and explore like different depths of different subjects. There, like touches of different subjects in different scenes. And I don't know what social contradiction. There's a little bit of that, but it's not the main theme. There's a bully. It's not the main theme, but it's there.
Yes.
Yeah. So we managed to touch that, but not in a forced way. Like it was very important that it would become as naturalistic as possible. Like even the acting is very naturalistic. It's not like cartoonish at all. It's like really real talking. Even though it's like a dystopian universe,
Yes.
it's a dystopian universe that has a really close relationship with reality, and that's very important for the film. That's what we really wanted to achieve. To say, look,
Yeah.
we are talking about things.
Yeah,
you know?
we're not much different than they
Yeah.
are.
And technically speaking, of course, we worked with Toon Boom, cut out animation, but leaving room for the animators to draw a lot. of course, it was a desire to do
full animation.
a full animation
That's-
film. But we knew the kind of film that we were doing, you know, the kind of budget that we had. So I don't know. You have to stick with. Like you have to look at the glass and see it half empty.
Yeah.
Have food.
And you said that it took like 8 years to produce this film.
No,
It took
from
like
idea
all in
to-
all, the project took 8 years. Like the production process was 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
in 30 months.
Okay. I have a question. So, is there anything from Tito and his friends that like was inspired from your guys' childhoods at all? Like, oh, that was like what I did when I was in school, or like I had an obsession with birds, so I'm like carrying that into the film.
Well, as they say, nothing is autobiographical, everything is autobiographical.
Yes.
I couldn't really tell you, right? Yeah, sure, but some of I've been telling some people are surprised with that, but one of the biggest inspirations for me was the Goonies.
Yeah.
So I really wanted that feel like the bunch of kids they have to get together and it's going to be really cool to like solve all these problems. So it's more like my emotional relationship as a kid to like these movies, these adventure movies. But inspirations from real life, like this thing, like you being friend with your nanny's son. It's something that is very common in Brazil. Less and less so, but it's still very common.
Yeah.
So there are things, and like the bully. I mean, I went to a private school, and there are things that are there, of course, that are, but I wouldn't be able to point them out. I'll need a psychologist. I'll need to analyze
That specific relationship with Tito, and I forgot his friend's name, but Boyu, thank you. That's something that's very culturally specific. Because I imagine like we have similar things like in this country, but it's not so much a thing anymore. So like I'm glad that was explained to kind of like, oh no, they just hung out because like the nanny would be there and take care of everyone. That's
yeah,
just,
but
like,
we
a
put
friend,
it as a small detail. In Brazil, probably comes across more naturally, but
Sure.
I find it that I don't know what you think about this, but I have like lots of European friends, and I've lived in Europe a long time ago. I think there are more nannies nowadays than there used to be. With immigration.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I don't know how it is here in the US, but I've heard that it's actually there is a comeback in a way.
It might be the fact that like decreasing job markets and opportunities for people, and it's like a necessary service. Like people, we need to like manage kids and help out. But I think one of the things it's a detail that I thought was very important to like the characters in the story and how they're understanding their relationships to each other. That even though it wasn't like most times in I would say like films or just animation in general, you don't even bother to explain it. Just that's your friend, and that's it. But that's very shallow and surface, as opposed to like no, you can have friends do like the bully who's like the preppy bully, but you can become friends with them. You got friends with someone who like they might be an employee of my parents, but I can still like enjoy this person's relationship, and then like a friend who's like a big sister to you, and like that can be a friend as well. I thought that was just a nice little detail to flesh out the world. Yeah.
And also like that he's a hacker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It
fun.
empowers his character a lot, like because
he was like he wanted to save him.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, that one sequence when he's running from the. I also caught the Darth Vader breathing to myself.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You gotta breathe like this.
Yeah.
These scary people, they breathe like this.
Yeah, it's a
you know that.
good nod to classic sci-fi story. You were mentioning how you grew up in Europe. Another thing this movie greatly reminded me of is City of Lost Children.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very similar kind of like dark feel to it, but also a world that's not our world, but it feels like it could be our world.
Yeah.
And I don't know how often like other live action cinema played a factor to like
As reference.
Yeah, as references.
Well, I don't know. We talked a lot about Interstellar for the soundtrack.
Okay. Good old Hans Zimmer. That's
We have, of course, there is lots of influences. For me, it's really like the difficult to tell because I'm basically influenced by everything that I see.
Yes.
So it's difficult to say. I mean, it's from like Kubrick to.
Well, you mentioned Goonies as well.
Yeah, the Goonies. Yeah,
was a big
and,
reference.
yeah. It's hard to say. I didn't study film, but I've been doing it for a long time. But I don't have that kind of systematic knowledge. I just take it as it comes, you know, which is different.
I think, at least as an artist, I think a lot of people operate that way. Or at least I would hope, because it's like you want to be inspired and be passionate about the things that you enjoyed and ingested, and then you put that back out with your own messages and stories.
Yeah, but even the bad guys, the brigade, the green guys, it's like from E.T.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah,
You got
Steinberg.
pieces and
It's true. Yes, answered my question very well. Because I was a big fan because I was talking to a friend of mine. I was explaining the movie, and it's interesting because it's not the typical like Disney Pixar formula. It's not an animated show, and I also imagine because like growing up in Brazil, you have a different culture, a different way of perceiving the world. That it's not so like cookie kind of formula. Did you think it'd be a harder sell in the States, or at least in America, the United States, based on the style of the movie?
We knew that our target was the independent market.
Right.
That was pretty clear to us. And being that, with the budget that we had to figure out ways of doing something unique and that would not be aesthetically close to the blockbusters. That was very clear to us. And one thing about Tito is that at the same time we didn't choose a path of doing something really hermetic, something really author-driven. We tried to blend these things together. So I think we were really successful in that. I think that's one of the reasons that the film is going well in festivals, and here in the US too is getting some attention because it's not hermetic, it's an open film. It's for a wide audience.
and we got some resistance from the art house community, which is where we are most connected, so to say, right? Like to the Europeans, they said, they basically said with more beautiful words that it can't be beautiful and fun at the same time. And we were like, why not? Yeah, why not? Right? It has to be beautiful and it can be fun.
Yeah, that's just a dig on beautiful people. You're just like, oh, if you're beautiful, you can't be fun.
It has to be shallow.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And yeah, your movie is very fun. Like I expected going to based on the style, it's like, okay, this is gonna be very serious, very impressionistic, and very deep. But I'm like, oh no, it's like a song. It's like
cool.
adventure. It's a kid's adventure
Exactly.
film. Yeah.
That was the goal.
Yeah, and like also working under a budget, I know it's very tight.
But it's funny because some people associate like the aesthetics, like more daring aesthetics, with more boring stuff. That it's a shame because it can be beautiful and fun. Come on, it's totally possible.
Just dig a little bit. I mean, you were just talking about how the beginning, the camera transitions you guys were using, you kind of had to pull back from the later film, but like the beginning of the movie is such a good kind of like time lapse about like Tito's life and his father, and very put you into a dream state. And then when the actual movie starts to pick up, it's like, oh wait, now I'm actually experiencing the movie. Before I felt like I got all the past, all in one go, and I thought that was really good.
We had to compress that a lot.
Oh, okay.
It was much longer in the beginning, and it was not working.
Oh, it was like Lord of the
Like
Rings.
it was, yeah,
It's just like,
exactly.
here's the history of Middle Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
We
fascinating.
took away
15 minutes later.
We took away 5 minutes from the beginning of the film.
Oh.
We threw away in the cinematic process.
Doesn't that always break your heart?
I'd rather have a better story.
That's right. All right, you're all 100% on the story.
Yeah,
That's
it's really about the movie.
Yeah.
It has to work.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, ultimately the movie came out very well. Nice, brief, and concise, and also a very fun story. So I appreciate you guys giving the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, and see you on the Animation Success Stories.